Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rob Gill with Epic Financial Strategies. I'm with my partner, Eddie Gardner.
How you doing,
What's
Rob?
up, man? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great.
You know, it's amazing. Every single time there's a new president, there's always sweeping laws and rules that kind of come into play. And it's like a yo-yo. And by the way, this is what happens to your money, of course.
Yeah.
And Ed, listen, by last account, we have a national credit card, a deficit of about $28 trillion. We have
crazy.
a GDP, the money that we all earn as Americans, of $22 trillion. That's a $6 trillion deficit. And guess what? What's going to happen with your money later on when you start taking it out? So today we're going to talk about what is President Biden doing to my 401k plan? And myself and Eddie are going to dig deep into that, share our thoughts, non-biased, but we just want to base it on where we see what can happen later on.
So today what Rob and I are going to get into is the proposed changes that are coming down the road for retirement plans, specifically 401ks, what the benefits could be depending on your income tax bracket, what the potential pitfalls might be as well. We're also going to discuss taxation in general and things to think about when you're looking at retirement planning. And lastly, how to best stay informed with all the new changes coming down the road. Every time a new administration comes in, there's new changes that come and are proposed. So these aren't set in stone. They're not concrete by any manner. But Rob, some of the things that they're looking to do is they want to take away the tax deduction on 401k plans, but turn that into a tax credit.
Wow.
Another one of the things that they're looking to do on that is also for people that don't have access to a 401k. Maybe you work for an employer, that employer doesn't offer a 401k. They want to create a 401k for everybody to be able to participate
Would that be separate than an IRA?
Yeah.
Separate than, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the stated goal of this, tax plan change and getting rid of the deduction, which sounds bad, they want to change it to a tax credit. So tax credit, right? They want to give you money rather than having you just write off dollars, right? So the tax credit they're going to give you is a 26% proposed 26% tax credit. So what that means is for the lower to middle income earners, they're actually going to see more of a benefit versus the higher income earners who, they're going to say won't get as much.
So, Ed, do you mind if I play a little bit?
Yeah.
And we can kind of get into something here for all the folks that are out there. Let me just kind of play it this way. So if somebody makes $100,000 a year, right,
Yep.
and they put, let's say, 10% of their income or $10,000 into a 401k contribution,
Yep.
right, that means that they would get taxed on $90,000.
Correct.
Right? And if they're in, let's just say, the 30% tax bracket, that $10,000 would result in a $3,000 tax savings.
Correct.
Now, what President Biden is proposing, let's just play with that scenario. Yeah. If a person makes $100,000, they would now get a tax credit. What does that look like compared to what we just said?
So at a 26% tax credit, if they put away 10% of their income, now what you're looking at is a $2,600 tax credit.
Is that assuming a 30% tax bracket, or is that?
It's irregardless of tax bracket.
So thank you for that. So basically what I'm hearing is that the person that makes $100,000 that's in a 30% tax bracket that contributes 10% to their 401k, instead of getting a $3,000 tax savings dollar for dollar, they're going to get a $2,600 tax credit. It doesn't sound like that they're winning in that scenario.
No, but who is winning?
And which we'll get in. Yep.
Yeah. So who this is geared for is that person, right? To your same example, somebody making $35,000.
Yep.
If they're putting away 10% of their income,
$3,500 a year.
right?
Yep.
In today's current plan, they're in a 12% tax bracket.
Yep. So 12% times 3,500 is what their tax savings is.
It's a $420 tax savings. Under this new plan, putting 10%,
26.
they're going to get a $900 tax credit.
And where does that $900? What is the calculation that leads to that $900 tax credit?
Yeah, so it's 10% of their income that they're putting away and they're getting a 26% credit on that.
So for the person that makes $35,000, to Eddie's point, this sounds like you're going to get double, if not close to 2.5 times better versus just a simple write-off that you would normally get. And I assume that this is going to create even more of a wealth gap, non-judgment, because the person that's making $100,000 that's not going to benefit from this is going to begin to shift that money into other directions.
Correct.
Okay, so wow, thank you for that information. That's amazing. And all you folks out there, this isn't final yet, right?
Right.
But I think for you, it's important to understand. And by the way, everything that Eddie and I just talked about, let me be clear, we're not fiduciaries. Go check everything. Go to your accountant. Get clear on what this looks like, because this is important to your decision making on how you're going to move forward.
Right. But you were just sharing a story before, some of the things that, people should be thinking about, right? Because obviously this isn't set in stone yet.
Yep.
But anytime we're talking about a tax savings or a tax credit now, we're talking about deferring money from today, a known tax rate, into the future.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts behind what that might look like for people?
Thank you. That's a great question. And Ed, I'm just sitting here just thinking about what you're saying, and I'm still kind of floored at what we just talked about. Can we go back for 1 second
Sure.
for the benefit of the folks? If the new proposal goes through and there is a tax credit, do they still fall under the same rules where they can't touch their money till 65 and a half?
59 and
59 and a half,
right
sorry
now.
about that.
Yep.
That doesn't change.
No.
Okay, so it's just more of an incentive.
Yes.
For me, I think that based on what Ed just shared, understanding and double check everything, I'm saying that, hey, listen, the tax law changed probably since the mid-'60s about 30 or 40 times. We know that in 1973, when ERISA was created, that was the birth of a 401k. It was kind of the death of what at that point was the corporate pensions that existed in our country, and it put all the risk on the employee, took the risk off of the employer, right? So if we already know what history looks like, and we could kind of calculate that into maybe future assumptions, I'm not going to say it's going to repeat itself, but history does rhyme. It's kind of like of its cousin for some level. I think for me, in the way I want to look at things, and I understand tax planning, I understand insurance planning, and I understand wealth planning, in that tripartite division, I think it's important to pay taxes now. So later on, when you have that money coming back to you, once again, Ed, understanding that we're in a $28 trillion deficit, $22 trillion GDP, and that number seems to be going up every year. I got to believe somewhere along the way, the government, there's that money train. That's the government money train right there. The government money train that's coming for your money. And here's the thing. I think that there's a witch's brew going on, because either they're going to increase taxes.
Yeah.
They're going to increase inflation. By the way, right now, there's a new term, transitory inflation. Go look it up, folks. What they're saying is everything is skyrocketing right now, but it's only temporary until it's not temporary. Anyway, my point is I'd rather get taxed today so that money later on comes back to be tax-free. To answer your question.
I'm thinking about income tax, right? Income tax was temporary until it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Taxation without representation. Can you imagine if our forefathers came right in this, they went into the time machine, they came right to 2021 and they saw what was happening right now? They wouldn't even know what to do. They fought for tax-free or no taxes.
Right.
And then in 1913, it was created all over again. Taxes.
Yeah. So, you talked about it a little bit, and the idea of tax planning is so important, because the tax laws are constantly changing. Things are ever moving in people's world. So that idea of sitting down and planning out and looking at what are the proposed changes, what's likely to come about, and how does it affect what I'm trying to do? I think at the end of the day, if they're paying the tax today, they know what they're paying, right? In the future, we have no idea what that could be. If the majority of the wealth is in retirement plans, and you're supposed to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, maybe you're not, right? That's been a myth.
Can I play?
Yeah.
What does that mean if you're in the lower tax bracket?
To me, that means you're taking less money in, right?
If you're in the lower tax bracket and you weren't doing proper planning, it sounds like you're going to have the 4 o'clock dinners. And there's a good chance you're going to outlive your money.
Right.
Right?
Right.
unless there was proper planning, everything is tax efficient, then that's a whole different conversation. But to your
Right.
point, you know, a lot of folks when they come in here, and by the way, we're not fiduciaries, but when they come in here and talk about their IRAs,
Yep.
and they're like, yeah, no, it's all tax free. No, it's not. Because they were told that they're going to be in the lowest tax bracket, but it's not true. House is paid off, kids are out of the house, the write-offs are gone. The distribution on the, you know, the qualified plans, which increases every year from 72 on, kind of puts them in a bracket that they never anticipated when they put this whole plan together.
Yeah.
So it's interesting stuff.
So it's important, right, to stay on your plan, to meet with your advisors, to really talk these things through, because they're always going to be changing.
Yeah, what Ed specializes is in the ability of creating customized plans for each and every one of you folks that are out there. If you reach out to him, you can click the link below and set up a time to speak with Ed and/or add a comment with any specific question that either we'll do a video on or answer directly. But keep in mind, it's important that somebody that's driving your financial ship with you, you want to make sure that, you know, when it comes to what Ed and he brings to the table as far as having the planners on the same page for the benefit of your thinking, it's always important to be able to have that in your life.